So how do we use value stacking to break the shame spiral, to be able to start selling, to be able to also develop tactical empathy, to be able to trade in real time in terms of conversations? Oh, stay to the end to find out. Welcome to the news. We're talking about actually trading, like in real time, in conversations with people, in the essence of sales, leveraging the essence of sales and the essence of webinar sales, trying to make today's episode into somewhat of like a webinar sale, which is sort of like a parallel. It's a paradigm shifting mindset methodology, which is just kind of a joke because it's like a paraphrase of a paradigm shifting mindset that is meant to actually reframe different paradigms to be able to develop like a webinar selling mindset. For example, it's taking the essence of webinar sales, leveraging the essence of webinar sales today in terms of regular conversations and in terms of regular relationships, in terms of corresponding regular life energy to be able to correspond webinar sales into the essence of conversation, into the essence of relationships, into the essence of dynamics with people that you know, in terms of developing a way to be able to break the shame spiral. And today's episode is also brought to you today by James Palladian, because he is sort of the inspiration. And nonetheless, when we're talking about the shame spiral, we're talking about things that are monotony, sort of a thing. We're talking about things that are the same. We're talking about things that sometimes people need resonance and dissonance to correspond in conversation with, to be able to get you to trade against their energy. You're trading against their energy in real time, in real conversations. And it's a unique concept, and it's a unique strategy at the same time, because nonetheless, it takes a little bit of reframing the mindset and the concept of how to be able to bounce yourself off of other people's energy and just try to become along the lines of reflecting energy to, as opposed to going off of your gut emotions and your first gut reactions, to be able to correspond to what you might think in terms of a first glance, in terms of a first methodology, of a first thought, once you receive certain information from people in terms of input from their output. And in terms of trading on relationship energy, if we will, to try to enhance relationships, to try to improve relationship dynamics and also improve sales. Improve sales corresponds to tactical empathy, which corresponds to actually trading in real time to try to improve people's lives by not only with products and sales, and the concept of storytelling, to be able to change different paradigms, similar to the doorway example analogy I mentioned a couple days ago on the last couple days ago podcast, where we're going through different doorways inside of different people's minds, when you can visit inside of people's minds, to drive around people's minds and go through different doorways. Every single doorway is like a different paradigm. You want to take people to different doorways so that they get these different experiences of different paradigms. And we're value stacking along the way. And that's where bonuses come in. Bonuses come in the webinars. To be able to value stack, so that in essence it's like enough value to be able to deprogram and decompose in essence all of the potential problems, potential blunders that can sort of sidetrack people from the value, if you will. And that is also aligned with relationship and value stacking, connectivity with the essence of tactical empathy, which is corresponding to brand building. It's brand building on a one-to-one basis, on a person-to-person basis, with your family, with your friends, with your audience, with the essence of one-to-many sales, which corresponds to webinars in essence. Tactical empathy corresponds to being an energy. It corresponds to becoming an energy, as opposed to being a person, as opposed to thinking of yourself as a person in the first person, where you're just trying to focus on the way you feel and trying to reflect in a deflective and reflective sense off of whatever some other person says. Necessarily, you become something that is an energy that is responsive and that is reciprocal and that is looking to seek to solve problems. Solving problems like a trader, like somebody who's trading in foreign exchange currencies, and they're watching the charts dynamically as they try to empathize what the dynamics of the next shifts of the currencies are necessarily moving upon, and the empathy based upon the information and the data at every given moment and second in the information data as it expresses itself, corresponding to the unfolding energies of the market as it is influenced by different certain relatable corresponding elements that can give you insight into how to make a change or a turn or a pivot. And that is what tactical empathy corresponds to, is developing a trading mechanism where you are trying to keep the highs and the lows in sort of to move along the way to improve people's lives, so that in essence there's not too much mania, there's not too much depression inside of the conversation. You just keep things moving swiftly and swimmingly, so that in essence you get them across the goal line of trying to improve their lives fundamentally, so that you keep them in check. You are their guide, you are their life saving more or less like their lifeguard in essence, like in terms of if they were swimming and they didn't know how to swim and they were walking across a balance beam above a pool, and it is your goal to try to guide them and keep them guiding and balancing across that balance beam across the pool so that they don't fall inside of the pool necessarily, and they can keep their balance, and you're keeping them by talking to them and coaching them, showing them based upon their perspective, not being able to see their full perspective, and trying to keep them on the balance beam so that they don't fall in the pool because they can't necessarily swim. And so it's just an analogy, obviously, but fundamentally it's also meant to break the shame spiral. Break the shame spiral because it's breaking the shame spiral because a gut reaction corresponds to keeping things in check with how you want to see things, how you want to respond, how you want to just make your emotional feelings in terms of responses, in terms of your relationships. But when you're implying and imploring and implementing tactical empathy, then your tactical empathy is literally just a job trying to keep people's best interests in mind and trying to focus on how to keep them on the balance beam, focusing on how to get them to the other side of the balance beam, to the essence of success. And the essence of doing that sometimes involves products and services which correspond to webinars. Webinars are a long-form essence of long experience, trust-building processes that need to continue to value stack. Value stacking, which also corresponds to an offer. An offer is sort of the primary focus, and then behind that is value stacking with bonuses. Bonuses are sort of the bonuses to just decongest any given doubts that might correspond to any given lacks of value. So it's just value stacked. It's like, oh, well, I was, thinking about this, that, and the other thing, maybe just looking the other direction, not exemplifying the essence of focusing on urgency, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, urgency comes up because that is what's built into the offer. It's like everybody's leaving on a bus. People are leaving on a bus, and you have the opportunity and ability to get on that bus and be able to learn from everyone else and be able to participate with everyone else. It'll be a fun party on the bus, and people don't want that essence of fear of missing out, and that creating that urgency, and creating that urgency with value stacking and with bonuses that are exclusive to a specific webinar. Just like accountability coaching, if you want accountability coaching, you have to get at me, because the accountability coaching that Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios is capable of giving you is meant to help you achieve your highest self, which is just kind of an example of being silly, because nonetheless we're trying to value stack at the same time somewhat with this podcast, if you will. It's kind of a joke, but I mean that's the intention of this podcast nonetheless, is in terms of being an accountability coach. That's the actual frame, that's the hope, that's the interest to do for people, and I still actually am trying to do that for people, but kind of for free, because I don't want the obligation necessarily attached to be able to have to do it for pay, because it just necessarily makes it more whimsical. And that's what dissonance is all about. There's resonance and there's dissonance. Resonance is about harmony necessarily, and dissonance is about having the ability to go against the grain. It's having the ability to do things that are weird, having the ability to do things that are different, and that's what disrupts the shame principle. That's what disrupts the shame spiral. The shame spiral is about doing things that are similarly, and you feel guilty for doing things otherwise, so you stay in the shame spiral more or less for stepping outside of the shame spiral, and that is a self-fulfilling, unfulfilling belief. That's a limiting belief. It's limiting belief, and it's about breaking through those limiting beliefs. That is more or less what the sales element, that's what the tactical empathy is all about, is breaking through, getting across that balance beam, which feels shaky. It feels shaky, but as a lifesaver, as a lifeguard in this process, keeping somebody in balance is the job of the person who has the interest to implore tactical empathy to raise people's spirits, raise people up like a stock, so that they get to the other side and they also are better off than they started. So like as a stock, when you first bought into the conversation as somebody who's trying to sell to them, you're trying to raise their stock, you're trying to raise their feeling, you're trying to raise their value, you're trying to raise their empathy, you're trying to be empathetical and use tactical empathy to keep them and guide them into a more improving process, and into an improving process, into an improving state of being, so that even if they buy something, even if they are going into a new era, even if they're spending money to go into a new realm and a new direction to be able to improve their life by buying a new product, and you successfully help them succeed by buying that product, that you're actually trying to help that person, and that ultimately, even as they start their new journey, brand new, that they start at a higher place than they were beforehand, because they were elevated and escalated just through the sales process of being able to be traded based on their objections, their conceptions, and their interests, to be able to solve that problem, to be able to get through and out the other side of being able to get out of the focus that they saw themselves in to begin with, and to be able to get out of that fundamental place of which seemed like a place of less than ideal, a place of being in a place that's less than ideal, to be able to get out from that place, fundamentally moving forward and upwards and outwards from that place, and onwards and continuously upwards by working together, similarly to an accountability coach, except the rest of these podcast episodes for the last almost year. We're almost at our year anniversary for these podcast episodes. For every day recording are the bonuses. Every day for the last year are the bonuses, and even accountability coaching for Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. If you can find my number, if you can track me down, if you can email me and you want free accountability coaching, I will do it for free. For now. In an ideal sense, eventually I'll have too much busyness to be able to not handle all that necessarily, but in the meantime it's free for now, for trying to help people continuously. But that's what this podcast is all about nonetheless too, so that's the purpose of recording this podcast. Oh yeah. So nonetheless, this is like about trading in terms of real-time trading, by balancing, leveraging technical empathy. You're leveraging technical empathy to try to add value, and that's what you're watching. Those are your indicators. You're watching the energy, and you're trading. You're buying and you're selling your words. You're trying to bring down the levels if it seems a little bit too, like you're actually over the top in terms of like, you're over promising and under delivering. So you bring down the temperament. So you want to be under promising and over delivering. And nonetheless, you want to also bring up the excitement. Bring up the excitement with bonuses. Bring up the excitement with bonuses and value stacking and bonuses. So the people are leveraged in terms of becoming into a better place that is more or less full circle, based upon leveraging tactical empathy in the essence of trading, dynamic sort of transactional conversational energy, on a consistent one-to-one or a micro or a macro basis. Yeah, that's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech, Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, also we want to remember to clear the animal shelters. Let's clear all the animal shelters by fostering all the shelter animals in the world. Fostering all the shelter animals and clearing the animal shelters in the world by hiring the shelter animals as healers throughout communities. Hire the shelter animals as healers throughout communities. Adopt shelter animals and hire the shelter animals as healers throughout communities to give them a job, and clear all the animal shelters and hire all the animals in the world as healers throughout our communities to help heal us as humans and become the best version of ourselves by leveraging the energy within these animals to connect with ourselves and our better part of ourselves, to be better for ourselves and all of humanity, to each other, to improve upon the global good deeds economy, and the global philanthropy energy grid. And philanthropy energy generation, thereby. And that's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech, Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye. Bye.